Welcome to the fifth session of Module 2. This course will enable students to understand various sources of IoT and M2M communication protocols, describe cloud computing and design principles of IoT, become aware of MQTT clients, MQTT server and its programming, understand the architecture and design principles of WSNs, enrich the knowledge about MAC and routing protocols in WSNs. Those are the course objectives. At the end of the course, students will be able to describe the OSM model for the IoT or M2M systems, understand the architecture and design principles for IoT, learn the programming for IoT applications, identify the communication protocols which best suits the WSNs. These are course outcomes. In this session, we are going to discuss about application layer protocols. So we have the protocols like HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, other protocols. A TCP/IP message that is sent from specified port at a transmission end and to the specified port at the receiver end. Otherwise, the receiver port does not listen. That means that the packet that meant for HTTP, so then it is going to use the port number of HTTP only. So if the port number changes, then the packet will not reach the HTTP application. So we have several application layer protocols. Examples like we have HTTP, HTTPS, we have FTP, we have Telnet and many more. The concept of port, it is in terms of software. Each port uses a distinct protocol at an application layer. A port uses a protocol for sending and receiving messages, and each port will have its own port number. For example, consider the HTTP port. So that is hypertext transfer protocol. The port number is 80. HTTP port that will send the application data stack at the output to the lower layer using HTTP protocol. An HTTP web server listens port 80 only and responds to port 80 only. So if the port number is 80, then HTTP protocol that is going to listen. That means that the port number, that is just an address. It will tell that to which protocol the packet that has to be sent or meant for. And in HTTP it uses a URL. For example, http://www.mcgraw-hill-education.com. Okay, so this is URL. Default port taken as 80 for the URL port, and that can be specified after the TLD. For example, after this URL you are going to use the colon and 80. That is for specifically HTTP port. HTTPS, this is secured one compared to HTTP. This is HTTP over Secure Socket Layer or TLS. And the port number of HTTPS is 443. An HTTPS port sends a URL, for example, wikipedia.org, wiki list of TCP and UDP port numbers. Here the TLD is .org and domain name is wikipedia.org, subdomain name is TL. Resource relative URL is wiki/list of TCP and UDP port numbers. Okay, this is the domain, this is the subdomain, and this is resources relative to URL. HTTP client and server. HTTP is a standard protocol, requests a URL specified web page or resource. Web server that will sends in response the requested resource. The HTTP client requests an HTTP server on the internet. Client will request, server will respond to that request. The server responds by sending a response. The response may be with or without processing. An HTTP request assumed a fresh request as per the protocol. No session or sequence number field or no field that is retained in the next exchange. A current exchange by an HTTP request independent of the previous exchanges. The later exchanges do not depend on the current one. You might have heard of cookie. It's a text file which creates during a particular pair of exchanges happened between HTTP request and response. The creation is either at a CGI or processing program. Example programs are JavaScript or script or at a client. A prior exchange may then depend on this cookie information in the text file. An HTTP state management mechanism we are going to use. HTTP used more efficiently than the file transfer protocol, that is FTP, file transfer protocol. On the other hand, HTTP has no overhead like command lines. It doesn't have command line. And coming to the features of HTTP protocols, this HTTP is very light, a small format, and it is speedy as compared to other protocol such as file transfer protocol, and it is able to transfer any type of data to a client provided it is capable of handling that particular data. And it is based on OOPS, object oriented programming system. We have several methods that are HTTP specified methods like get, post, head, connect, put, delete, trace, and options. These are the 8 HTTP specific methods we are going to use in this particular protocol. This is the reference I have used. The contents are obtained from the textbook Internet of Things, Architecture and Design Principles, written by Raj Kamal and published by McGraw-Hill Education. And that is the end of session 5. Thank you.